Take him out! Take him out now! No! Take him out!
They do not say don't mess with Judge Vonda Evans for no reason. The judge went off on a defendant in a rape case in Detroit, dropping the F-bomb not once but several times. But how had it gotten to here? On April 20th, 2010, the defendant, 46-year-old Anthony Thornton of Port Huron, went to Coalition of Temporary Shelter Homeless Shelter in Detroit, where he met a woman. According to the authorities, the said woman went to an abandoned house with him and two other men to smoke and drink. According to the police, when the woman wanted to leave, Thornton and the other men restrained her and raped her, taking turns. Thornton only stopped his attack when he heard someone at the door. The woman reported the crime after escaping through the back window. The lady requested a rape kit, but it wasn't processed until March 20th, 2015. Following a combined DNA index system collected from the rape kit, Thornton was recognized by authorities as a suspect in the case. He was charged with kidnapping, 2 counts of unlawful imprisonment, 3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, and 3 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct. During the hearing, other cases came up, including one that happened on March 8, 2011, when Thornton intimidated and sexually assaulted another woman at his friend's house in Detroit. According to the police, in this case, Thornton's friend invited the woman to the house, but when she got there, Thornton was the only one present. Now, Thornton is in court where Judge Vonda Evans is presiding over his case. The defendant has decided on a bench trial, and he ends up not liking the verdict he is hearing. He interrupts the judge as she reads the sentence. More drama unfolds once Thornton starts swearing at her, forcing Judge Vonda to give him a mouthful.
When you tell one lie, you gotta remember the 100 lies that you told to cover that lie up.
That wasn't no lie.
Be quiet and don't talk in my courtroom!
She kicks him out, and that's when things go off the rails.
I'm innocent.
Be quiet! Take him back!
That's right.
Take him out!
That's right.
Take him out now!
You.
No! Take him out!
I'm innocent.
Evans continues with the verdict without Thornton.
Court is going to so find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt as to count 1 and count 2 criminal sexual conduct.
Thornton offers multiple apologies, but Judge Evans is having none of it.
You were out of line?
Yes, I was, and I'm sorry. All I've been saying is how things are.
I'm saying what you said to this court!
And I apologize deeply because you've been treating me fair.
I have never been anything but respectful to you. And for you to say me in my courtroom was unacceptable.
Yes, I'm deeply sorry. Just upset because I didn't do it. I'm deeply sorry.
Take it back.
Anthony Thornton was found guilty on 2 counts of sexual misconduct, but not guilty on the kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment charges. It clearly was business unusual in court that day, but Judge Evans wouldn't be the only judge being pushed over the edge in court. We head to this courtroom in the Kenosha County Circuit Court in Wisconsin. Here, the judge is not scolding a defendant as seen in the previous case, but rather a prosecutor.
And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked.
The Kyle Rittenhouse homicide trial brought attention to 75-year-old Judge Bruce Schroeder, the longest-serving circuit judge in the state. After shooting rounds during civil unrest in Kenosha, was charged with first-degree intentional homicide, reckless homicide, attempted homicide, and reckless endangerment of lives. Due to its high profile, the trial attracted a lot of attention and sparked debate on the legitimacy of self-defense after Rittenhouse shot and killed 2 individuals and injured a third.
Schroeder became visibly frustrated with prosecutor Mark Binger's questioning of the defendant. Rittenhouse had taken the stand and was being questioned on matters the judge had previously ruled inadmissible. Binger argued that Rittenhouse's responses had opened the door to that line of questioning, but the judge disagreed.
Your Honor, Mr. Binger is either forgetting the court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an
Finger? First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked. Why would you think that that made it okay for you without any advance notice to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, I'll leave it at that.
Judge Schroeder was clearly irritated with the prosecutor Mark Binger's questioning of the defendant during the trial. After taking the stand, Rittenhouse was being questioned on things the judge had earlier declared inadmissible. The judge disagreed with Binger's assertion that Rittenhouse's response had allowed for that line of inquiry.
Your Honor, Mr. Binger is either forgetting the court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an
Binger? First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that, and the court left the door open.
And that's when the judge loses it.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked. Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, I'll leave it at that.
We've all done stupid things while drunk, but driving recklessly in the wrong direction of an expressway. We'll leave that for Kayla Mendoza.
Mendoza to 2 counts of DUI manslaughter. That's count 1 and count 3. How do you plead?
Next on our list is Kayla Mendoza. She is facing charges in a Florida court of 2 counts of vehicular homicide, 2 counts of driving without a license causing death, and double manslaughter with an illegal blood alcohol content. On November 17, 2013, the 20-year-old driver without a license killed 2 ladies in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in a car accident while intoxicated. Prior to the collision, Mendoza had gone out to a neighborhood bar with her manager and co-workers, where she had 2 fishbowl margaritas. A few hours later, Mendoza took a Hyundai Sonata and mistakenly drove the wrong way on the Sawgrass Expressway.
Into her car and went speeding the wrong way down the freeway at more than 80 miles an hour. She collided head-on with another car, killing these 2 beautiful young women, Marissa Catronio and Caitlin Ferrante, both just 21.
Kayla was 20 at the time and very proud of being high all the time. She'd even tweeted, "Too drunk to care," a few hours before she crashed. The owner of the Hyundai Sonata that was involved in the collision, Mendoza's then boyfriend, clarified that the tweet, "Too drunk to care," was addressed towards him.
The Too Drunk to Care tweet was for my boyfriend because he was upset I was out, hanging out with them and with Marcelo drinking because he wanted me to be home.
The Ferrante and Catronio families brought legal action against Mendoza, her boyfriend, and the Tijuana taxi business, and the T-Mobile store where Mendoza worked. 2 months after entering guilty pleas to 2 DUI manslaughter counts, Mendoza was given a 24-year jail sentence on May 4th, 2015. Mendoza apologized frequently during the trial. Her tears and remorse became more intense after hearing her sentence.
How much time passes, I'm gonna live with that in my heart every day.
Mendoza is barred from driving a car for life, and she will also have to serve 6 years of probation after her sentence. Mendoza's apologies and remorse showed that she may yet be saved. However, the same cannot be said for LaShirley Morris. This is LaShirley Morris, who is facing charges for murder in Atlanta. LaShirley is charged with killing of 3-year-old Kaywan Mason. Physical abuse with a baseball bat was the cause of death, but it was ultimately determined to be a homicide. On October 21st, 2017, Morris physically assaulted the boy as a form of discipline. It makes one wonder, what terrible mistake could the poor child have committed to deserve such a severe punishment? Well, listen to this.
And then a violent death for taking a cupcake from the kitchen.
A child who was inside the home witnessed the attack and reported the events to the police.
Wait, he's not alert. No, he's not alert. He was breathing at first. Now he's not breathing.
Due to her failure to act during the incident, Morris's sister, Glendria Morris, was also charged with the child's death. At the time of the alleged killing, Kaywan Mason, the victim, lived with Glendria Morris, who also served as his legal guardian. It all began in March of 2017 when his biological mother, Geraldine Mason, was arrested on suspicion of reckless behavior. Mason allegedly had anger management problems, beat her children, and left her kids alone at home. After her arrest, K1 and his 3 siblings were placed into the care of Division of Family and Child Services. On April 27th, Geraldine Mason, the mother of the victim, was freed and reunited with one of her kids. Nevertheless, according to DVCS documents, she asked to have K1 and his twin brother placed under temporary guardianship. And that is how K1 Mason ended up in the care of the Morris family. In court, it was revealed that, based on the 911 call LaShirley made, the boy had passed away before emergency personnel could arrive at the home. LaShirley Morris entered a guilty plea to murder and was found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated assault, cruelty to children, and murder. She was given a life sentence with the possibility of parole after pleading guilty to murder. LaShirley's actions were horrible. However, they seemed nothing compared to what Frank DeLeon did. This is Frank DeLeon Jr. He is facing charges for murder of his ex-girlfriend. On January 11, 2023, Diamond, the ex-girlfriend, was walking her dog when Frank fatally shot her 22 times.
Investigations revealed that the two had been in a relationship and were on the verge of a breakup. Frank was promptly arrested. If you thought Frank would show remorse for his crimes, be prepared for his jaw-dropping conduct during the proceedings. In court, Diamond's mother tells the man who had wickedly ended her daughter's life how she felt. As she was giving her statement, Frank smirked at her. Enraged, Diamond's mother went to confront him. But before she could make it to the smirking murderer, the situation escalated. Diamond's uncle jumped in from the gallery and attacked.
Upon investigation, police discovered that the two had been together and were close to breaking up. Frank was taken into custody and charged right away. If you were expecting him to express remorse for his misdeeds, get ready for his astounding behavior throughout the trial. In court, Diamond's mother expressed her feelings to the man who had cruelly taken her daughter's life. Frank gave her a sly smile as she was speaking. The enraged Diamond's mother went to face him. However, things got out of hand before she could reach the smirking killer. Diamond's uncle leapt in from the gallery and attacked Frank. Then Frank's mother attacked Diamond's mother in an attempt to defend him, triggering Diamond's aunt to go after her. The police were eventually able to separate the two families. Diamond's mother told the journalists after the fight.
It was wrong of me. That was wrong of us because we're not monsters. But it's so much hate because I want my daughter back. And what he did was horrible. Seeing my daughter there and looking at him that he did that and he's laughing at my face. It was very wrong, and I'm so sorry for that.
In the end, Frank accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Frank's case shows that acting on emotions is never a good idea. Same for intrusive thoughts, which made Cyrus Matthews form an entire storm out of a water drop.
I'm sorry for, acting immature on the road. I understand that, being on the road, you do have other people's lives in your hand. And, I should have thought about that.
Talk about jumping from the frying pan into the fire. That's the story of Cyrus Matthews, a young Cleveland man who took a problem and made it 100 times worse. Cyrus Matthews, 19, was charged with a misdemeanor following an incident involving road rage. He would only be incarcerated for a maximum of 60 days. Even if this situation is undoubtedly not ideal, it is nothing in comparison to the problems he got himself in after.
Like any way that we can reverse this jail time.
Well, you're going to go to jail. If you need to get out, then the hearing you can consider furloughs. Okay, right now you're going to go to jail.
Cyrus made it clear that he was unhappy with the judge's ruling and made the worst decision of his life. He decided to run.
His lawyer attempts to get him to see reason.
Cyrus's attorney tries to reason with him while the judge demands that he be charged with felony escape. Cyrus's girlfriend was seen hastily exiting the courtroom in the meantime. Although Cyrus hesitated for a moment, he eventually ran to the parking lot and jumped into his girlfriend's car. Then they drove off, but not very far. In his haste to get away, Cyrus struck a car carrying 3 people and then crashed into a petrol station. All of the passengers, including a baby, were injured, but not seriously. However, notice how Cyrus's getaway vehicle, a Buick LeSabre, appeared following the collision. It is obvious how much worse things could have gotten. Authorities removed Cyrus and his girlfriend from the car and took them to a hospital. Later on, he was returned to custody. Cyrus was now charged with felony assault and given a 425-day jail sentence, as opposed to the original 60 days. Cyrus's girlfriend doesn't seem to have run into any legal issues, most likely because she wasn't the one driving. While Cyrus's actions can be said to be out of fear, what about when a defendant acts out of hate? That was the case of James Field Jr. This is James Field Jr., who is facing charges for murder in Virginia.
Injuries, but it's very noteworthy. She had a lot of psychological injuries. She was not injured when the car drove into the crowd of protests.
Or just plowed through hundreds of people downtown Charlotte.
Field's a self-described neo-Nazi. Rammed his car into the crowd at a white supremacist event, killing Heather Heyer and injuring 35 others. Heyer, a 32-year-old paralegal, was among the demonstrators who were opposing the removal of a Confederate statue and were protesting against white nationalists and white racists. Field was put on trial by the state and found guilty on several counts of aggravated malicious wounding, first-degree murder, and leaving the scene of an accident. No matter how serious you consider his offenses to be, the responses in court were worse. Outside the courtroom, Field's supporters gathered to contend that his offenses were self-defense.
Scared by your mob that this city might get out of control. This is on the hands of the city government, of the police, and the radical left.
Do you have any accountability for this death at all?
Not at all. These radical leftists are the ones that brought violence. They're the ones preparing for violence. They said in their chants, the Nazis, the fascists, they came prepared.
This is what his defense team had to say.
It is alleged that Fields acted in this case because of the race, color, religion, and national origin of that crowd that was at the bottom, the intersection of 4th and Water Streets.
But in the end, the jury and the prosecution had different opinions, and Charlottesville Circuit Judge Richard Moore sentenced James Field Jr. to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Supporters of James gathered to argue that Field's crimes were an act of self-defense.
Field seemed pretty emotionless as the sentencing and proceedings were underway. Which of these cases was the most shocking to you? Tell us in the comments down below.